Well, hello everyone. Welcome back once again to the VoV Network. We're glad to see you here joining us today. Time for another VoV Unscripted. Today, we're going to get into a subject that Mina kind of brought up in one of our lives this past weekend. And we were having some discussions, and one of the things that we kept kind of coming back to that people really needed to take some time to do and experience, and that is to practice self care, or even more, sometimes just maybe take a step back from the situation to try to evaluate it and work their way through it. So, Mina, you want to share a little bit of kind of where that idea came from, and kind of why we want to get into this today?
I think that was where the idea came from, that we were having so many conversations that the idea to kind of fix what was going on with us or to make the relationship better was to take a step back. And not just that, just having, maybe stress at work or in your life, in your everyday life. So kind of taking a step back and practicing self-care. So we always say that, but it's nice to give people ideas on what taking a step back means and how to practice self-care. So I thought that would be a good idea to give people some ideas on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if this is your first time joining us here, welcome to the VOV Network. What we focus on here is giving you ways to better cultivate, enhance, and preserve your relationship connections. And that could be any type of relationship, whether it's obviously a romantic relationship, it could be business or personal, friendships, etc. We're here to just kind of help you grow to be a better you, a better self, and give you some different tips and ideas as to how to go about doing that. So that's what our focus is going to be today. And again, our topic is for this session, which is our unscripted, is need to take a step back. Here's how to. So that's kind of what we're going to get into today.
Yep.
So to start this off, meaning, we with the unscripted, we just kind of throw it on the table and kick it around unstructured. So one of the pieces that kind of resonated with me when you even mentioned, "Hey, let's talk about this," it's very true. Um, Sometimes we're moving so fast in the world. Things so much is going on, whether it's professional lives, personal lives, family, this, that, the other thing. We don't take the time to do some self care, for ourselves. Um, and what's going on in our world today with COVID and many other things, relationships are stressed, individuals are stressed, and maybe some self care is really one of the things that will make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. But the question, as you just said, is what the heck does that really mean when you say
Yeah.
self care, and then how do I go about even doing some of those things? And I think the first thing that you need to do with self care is I use the term just literally stop. Right, whatever it is that's going on, whatever you're doing, actually take just stop and
Right.
let life, if it continues to pass you by, that's okay. But take a few heartbeats to kind of do just a self evaluation of where you are mentally, and how are you feeling stressed, maybe where that's coming from, some reflection internally, as well as what's going on in the external world. And then
Right.
that can start to help you process through just how to even start down that road of doing
Right.
some self care. What do you think about that?
I agree. Sometimes you might have situations or, relationships, whether it's family, friends, um, romantic relationships, whatever it is, relationships aren't easy.
Mhm.
And sometimes that break, that stop, that pause, an intentional pause, and not necessarily an angry type of breakaway and pause. Just taking the time to reflect and think about how your life is going, what you're doing, because those things that get you really upset or make you feel like you're really stressed or tension, you have that tension, may not really be that big of a deal when you stop, take a minute, reflect, and have that.
Reflect on it.
It may
Yeah.
not really be that big of a deal once you do that, but sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the everyday run-of-the-mill stuff, and then that one little thing might not be that big of a deal, but it might seem like it when you have everything else compounded with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. So self-reflection, I think, is a big piece of it. And, a lot of people hear that term thrown around, but, how
Mhm.
do you then, what does that mean? What's the process for, going through that and doing some actual um, effective thinking and what's going on in your world, introspective kind of thinking and those kinds of things. And what some of the processes you can get into to kind of help you along with that is sometimes taking the time to just sit and document what you're thinking or what you're feeling, whether it's going to be a journal, just take a notepad, right? And it's not about having it be a formal thought per se. You're not trying to write out a sentence or anything like that. It's just what comes to the top of mind. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's feeling out of sync in my life at this point in time, or where would I like to be versus where I am now? Just and just jotting those things down, almost in a bullet point format, right? Because when you start to do that, you kind of open your mind up to just
Mhm.
start to think in just lots of different ways, which is the whole point of starting to open yourself up internally to have these different thoughts and different things.
Right.
Finding a quiet place, maybe taking a walk, and as you're walking along,
Yeah.
um, just let your mind wander to different things. Most of us, when you're like, well, how would I write that down? Well, most of us carry our phones, right? You can
Right.
add a voice note every time you think
Yeah.
of something. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? And then when you get to the end of that walk, you play it back for yourself. And what that can do is that can help you start to formalize then maybe the things you like to see done differently in your life, or different paths that you like to go down, or just different ways you like to organize things from day to day that are going to start to help you feel more cared for, and just kind of put you into a better mind space.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with journaling, sometimes you just need to get stuff out.
Out. Yeah.
Putting it in a journal, it's not necessarily that you want someone to read it, you just wanna get it out, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
Just have you ever just been having some stress about something and just talking with someone, it just feels so good just to get it out? It's kinda
Yep.
the same thing when you're journaling. Maybe you're that type of person that doesn't wanna tell everybody all your business, you know? You can journal it out, get
Journal
it
it
on
out. Yeah.
paper.
Yeah, and so that's one part of the process. I think what people don't realize when they do that though is you you're kind of shifting to what part of the brain you're also using, which is
Mhm.
one of the pluses of doing this, because when you shift like that, you are um, moving more toward the creative side of the brain when you start to do those kinds of things, which actually then gets you out of that hustle and bustle side, which is thinking about all of the things that are really happening. Why you got to do this, I got to do this, and got to get kids to soccer practice, and all these thousands of things that are running through your head, which gives you and your brain kind of a pause. It's almost like a chance to just slow down and kind of let things normalize a little bit. And I think that's another piece of just a self care piece, is actually taking that literally, as we said, one or two steps back and slow down, right? Because
Mhm.
the world can have you running just so fast, and in that you lose what you need, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and this gives you an opportunity to kind of get back and rekindle some of those things. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
Uh, then the other pieces of it too that I think we have to look at is you know we can be dismissive of doing these types of things, right? Because it's like I don't need it, or it's not for me, or those kinds of things, right? But don't knock it until you tried it. As I think one of the things that I would say to that, and uh, I think a lot of times we end up dismissing. It's like someone says, "Have you ever tried meditation?" Right?
Right.
And if you ever think of that, right? And that's because I think that's a great analogy. And a lot of people go, meditation, who does that kind of crazy thing, right? It's like, well, have you ever tried it? And it's like, well, no. Then why are you bashing something when you really never given it an opportunity or a
Right.
chance, right? So I think some of these techniques and different things that you can do from a self-care standpoint are the same. We
Mhm.
tend to look at that and go, well, I'm fine, or but until you actually see how maybe that will open you up, give you some different thoughts, give you some different ideas, maybe just give you some peace, from for a few minutes, can make a huge difference. What are your thoughts about that, especially the not doing it or dismissing it?
Uh, I think, yeah, and don't knock it till you try it. I mean,
Yeah,
I have recently took an intentional break, 2-day break, and, I didn't do anything,
yeah,
nothing.
nothing.
I ate food, I watch TV, you know? I mean, I didn't do anything, but, not everybody can do that because if you got
Mhm.
small kids or you have things going on, you can't really take that full 2-day break, but
Right,
you can intentionally take some time to do nothing or do things that are self-care for you, and I
right.
really did, and, it was intentional. I needed a break. I needed to recharge, and I
Yeah,
did, and, I felt so much better after that, so,
yeah.
um, you just when you're feeling down, your body if you don't take care of it, your body will take care of it.
We take care absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that point up too, because that's kind of one of the next things I wanted to talk about was how we get in this mode of always have to be doing. It's like
Mhm,
that's the productive thing to do is doing, doing, doing. We're going, we're going, we're going. And what I have learned, and then some of the things that I've read and some of the research I've done basically says, yes, the doing, the action piece of it is important, but actually not as important as the quiet time, because
mhm,
that's when you actually can formulate, get some clarity on the ideas and the direction that you may really want to go, and set about putting in some realistic action steps to get you where you want to go. But if you don't take the time to actually stop and slow down long enough so you can process through, I mean, truly get in touch with how you're feeling inside about different things, where you might want to go to next in life, whatever it might be, things that maybe sometimes with, a lot of people right now with what's happening in the world are struggling with, feeling detached or having minor types of depression battles and those kinds of things. Um, but maybe not understanding why they have that.
mhm,
And so if they could actually take a step back or two from it and get a better perspective of it by processing through with some of the things we're going to be talking about today,
mhm,
it could help them then take those steps forward to get past it and to push through it, right?
right,
And I think that's one of the challenges we face is we get on that treadmill, man. We're running so fast
yeah,
when we don't take the time to actually step off of it for a few minutes and go, okay, where am I going? Well,
yeah,
I'm running, right? But
yeah,
but where and why and
mm,
what's the objective here? And that's what self care and also taking a step back is all tied up in those moments where you get off the treadmill,
mhm,
sit in peace, find a park bench and just check out for a few minutes and let the brain take you where it takes you and get in touch with what's going on and with your internal feelings.
mhm,
What do you think that how have you had a chance to do those kinds of things in the past?
yeah, 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 I have.
Okay.
And you have to make it intentional, though. You can't just like, I intentionally did things that I enjoy, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
to make me feel good, things that I love that, and if you know me, I like watching Netflix and finding things that I would never ever run into with my hustle and bustle. You have your same old things you might watch, to look for, but things that I have to really search for and in the areas that I like to
Hmm.
watch. That I like to
Hmm.
watch. That was really
Hmm.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
off the
No,
beaten.
I totally agree with you on that. And that's the thing is um giving yourself a chance to just do those things that matter the most to you, kind of recharge your soul, as you talked about, just stepping away from it all for a day or two. And a lot of
Yeah.
people say, well, I can't do that. I have too much going on.
Mm.
And as you just said, the key to that is planning it. You have to set
Yeah.
time
Yep.
aside for it specifically. So
Mhm.
that's one of the things we wanted to bring up talking about this is self-care doesn't just randomly happen. You
No.
really need to kind of put together a process for you to occasionally be able to step away from all those crazy things that are going on and just say, hey, you know what? This is what's more important. I need to get some just recharge time and figure out where you can structure that into your
Mhm.
daily, weekly routine in life and make sure those things do happen because I think that's very important.
And people will interrupt your self-care time. It will
Ye-
happen. You'll get
Yes, they
telephone
will.
calls and text messages, and people might need you, so, you have to kinda prioritize that. There might be things that you still have to do.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
limit that time with them. You do what you can and then get back to what you were doing because this was for you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you have to be strong about that.
Yeah, you
There's
do. You do
always
have to be strong
somebody
about that. Yeah. You
Yes,
you have
yes.
to be strong, you have to be firm, and,
Mhm,
and like I said, at on the other side of it, as you just said, and you literally just did it over the weekend,
mhm.
you come out of it as such a different person, actually, right? Your
Yeah,
mind space, your energy is
yes,
is totally different, right? And that's the bonuses and the pluses of being able to do it. So
yeah.
then that brings us to probably a question that some of you out there may be asking at this point. Okay, that makes sense. I can get with that, but I've never really done this before. So, what's maybe the easiest way for me to start down that road? So you set aside the time. You gonna whether you're gonna journal or record it or whatever. So now what? So the easiest thing to do is actually just phrase it or form it in questions to yourself, right? So you sit there, you're taking some introspective time, and it's like, okay, what are my goals? What goals have I had? Have I reached them, or am I still on the way to them? If you are or haven't, why not? So start to have those kinds of discussions with yourself. What are some goals I may have for the future? And then again, you're not trying to solve them in the moment. You're just trying to
Oh,
capture them and get them down on paper. Um, Maybe there's some things you feel like are hindering you in your life, for at whatever level. That could be within your relationships, could be work related things, it could be family, whatever it might be. But you think these things are hindering you in some way. Well, what specifically are those things? And
mhm,
just get them recorded, because until you really wrap your head around what those things are, what they mean, those kinds of things, it's really kind of hard to do something about it from a taking action standpoint. So I think the first step is, as we were talking about here, is to just get your head around it and then kind of go from there, right? Other questions that you can ask yourself, is just being more self-aware, you know, of how you're feeling, what your emotional states are, and just writing those things down too. Emotionally, how am I feeling right now? Am I
mhm,
feeling energized? Am I feeling tired? Am I feeling depressed? Am I feeling challenged? Am I feeling stressed? Whatever it might be, and just so you kind of asking yourself those questions, getting that down too, I think is a good baseline to start from a healthcare standpoint. Any others you can think of, Mina, from that you've tried in the past or that may come to mind?
I was just thinking that a big part of mine was that, yeah, I had the run of the mill of work and all the stuff I was doing, but I also had medical issues that I needed to sort out. Had to be sorted out, and I had but I recognized at that time, okay, now I need to take this step away. At the same time, I need to take this step away now that it's sorted so I can get myself back up strong and on even keel because I was feeling
Mhm,
really run down. So that was a big part of it, taking an assessment of what was going on with me at the time and knowing that I was worn out, right?
mhm,
So, that assessment piece is really important. Always thinking about where you sit and how are you doing,
mhm,
instead of taking it for granted and just going through running being a rat on a wheel, running through everything and
right,
taking that
right,
assessment.
right.
Yeah.
Another one, that kinda thought of as you were talking about that is, how can I be more effective, right?
Mhm,
And meaning that from the standpoint, like I said, you're on the treadmill, you're running, you're running, you're running,
mhm,
and then but wait, I'm accomplishing kind of what I need to do here and there, the family, kids,
mhm,
wife, whatever's going on. But maybe if I take a step back, reevaluate all these different things, is there a more effective way for
mhm,
me to accomplish this and maybe even do more or be better at it by just
mhm,
taking that step back to kind of reevaluate things? Because that's the other piece of it too, is you're doing some self-evaluation, but you're also reevaluating a lot of the different things or influences that are in your circle, and I think that's
mhm.
also important.
Right.
Yep. As we transition on, so using questions is, I think, an important way to continue to work your way through it, especially from the initial let's get going with it standpoint, and then from there, you can move into how do you go about then structuring that time for you personally, and then we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. Um, each of us is probably different. Some people might want to literally do a couch weekend, right? And
Mhm,
there's nothing wrong with that. Others might say, you know what, I need to go take a walk. I'm just going to go out, take a leisurely walk. I'm not walking anywhere in particular. It's not about exercise per se. It's
Mhm.
just to get out and give my mind a chance to um, run free for a while. Maybe it's finding that park bench and just sitting there and taking in the scenery and just kind of letting your mind run. Other people, it may be a more physical activity because it's interesting how for some people, while they're in that physical activity, that actually doesn't take them focus, like bike riding, right? Because you're just kind of you're pedaling along, and that part of it you've been doing it for so long, it's just muscle memory. You just do it, so your mind can kind of go to other places. Swimming is another good one. You're out there, you're swimming, you're doing that stroke, but you're letting your mind kind of run to other things. So finding different activities or different things that fit you that give you an opportunity to just kind of let your mind uh, be able to focus and slow down and kind of catch up with all of those things. So just think about that. Each one of us is a different person, and so what is it for you that's going to be different that might give put you in that mind space where you can start to think and recharge. I know you said couch. What else have you done in the past for that?
For some people, though, hikes are really good for them, and they love
Hikes.
the
Yeah.
the beauty of hikes. I have a friend that
Yeah.
hikes like crazy,
Yeah.
and all these places she posts pictures. I didn't even know my home state was so beautiful with all the stuff that she's posting is crazy. But, for me, I think laughter, like I always say, laughter is the best medicine, so I like to watch a lot of comedies, and I'll watch old shows like 227. That's my
Hmm.
favorite right now. 227.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yes.
old, but it's so funny. I laugh at every episode, but shows like that and British comedies and things like that, those are
British
so
comedies.
fun
Yeah, it
for
can
me.
be
Yeah,
funny. It can be funny.
I love those. I love it. But British comedies I've never seen, I've never even heard of. That's the fun thing, finding those. But it's not just that. I like to do a slow, leisurely walk, you know,
Right.
walking, and yeah, that's fun too. I don't like hills, so I'm not the big hiking person, but
Mhm.
flatland walking is beautiful here, so walking is good too, so, yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff out here that's,
yeah.
I like to do.
I agree with you. The slow walk just to get
Yeah,
out and it's fresh air,
yeah,
sunshine. You're not trying to exert yourself because it's not an exercise type walk, but let the mind flow. And then another thing that I tend to do sometimes is I'll just go find a park bench, especially near the water, and
yeah,
just sit there
yeah,
and watch the waves and watch the
mhm,
birds and whatever else is going on, and that just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
there's a zen to that kind of happens, and
mhm,
then when you start to get into that mind space, and you can start to just open up and be more receptive, I think, to different ideas. So it's important that for all of us to really kind of find what that space
mhm,
looks like for us or that activity. And then, as Mina mentioned earlier, the most important piece is you got to schedule the time. You
yeah,
actually have to take the time, right? However, that needs to get structured into your routine. You've got to be able to schedule that time so that you can have that freedom to let every because what happens when you don't schedule the time is you actually never release what's going on
right,
because you feel this pressure of, "Ooh, I need to be doing this right now. Oh, don't forget I got
mhm,
to do that right now." So you have all those thoughts going in your head, and you're
mhm,
not actually taking advantage of the time that you supposedly set aside to do it.
mhm,
So that's the other thing is when you do set that time aside, try to use it, effectively and schedule it in a way so that you don't feel pressured, and you don't feel like you got all these other things kind of tugging at you that you got to get to at the same time, right?
yeah.
Because it kind of defeats the process from a time standpoint. Um, sorry, excuse me. So then the another piece of it too, and
Wait,
obviously,
before you go on, I was gonna say
oh yeah,
there's this beach here I like to go to, and I sit at the little bench, and I just watch the blue-green water. It's just moving. That's not too rough. It's just real gentle usually, and I like to just sit there and watch that water, and while I'm watching it, I usually sit, put on headphones, and listen to podcast. and
Okay.
I'll pick a podcast and listen to that while I'm sitting there, and then I'll come back because I usually take that break when I'm doing my homework, and then
Mhm.
I'll because 'cause I'll go a full day doing nothing but homework. So, sometimes on a Sunday, I just get up in the middle of that and go to the beach and listen to, a podcast. Not usually us, because I know our podcast because I was on it. But so I'll just pick somebody else's podcast and I'll
Somebody
listen.
else's podcast. Well, yes, that's true. And what's good about it doing something like that too is a typical podcast is about 45 minutes to an hour
Sure,
on average, right?
yeah.
Which is about the right amount of time. So it almost gives you this window, of giving you an opportunity to step away from it all,
Yeah.
listen to a podcast, and that kind of puts you in a good mind frame, and then also gives you a nice window of time, which is
Mhm.
generally enough time for you to be able to adjust to those different things, right? So I
Right.
think that's very important.
And come back and finish up my work.
Yeah, exactly. When you come back, you're all done. You're good to go.
Turn in my assignment.
So another thing that I find in this, which I think is very important, and I'm going to bring this up, and we'll probably want to kick this one around for a little bit because we're telling people to slow down, take a few steps back, take some time to process, you know, gather new information, ask some questions of themselves about all the various things that may be happening in their life. Um, but one of the things that's also important is watch what you consume. And obviously, the moment somebody says watch what you consume, the immediate thought is food or alcohol, drugs, those kind of things, which could
Mhm,
obviously have negative impact. So yes, food is one of the things when I say that, watch what you consume because bad eating habits can produce other side effects that
mhm,
do cause stress and different things on the body. So that's part of the self-care is to watch what you consume from a food and obviously drugs and alcohol and those kinds of things standpoint. So that's
mhm,
also very important. But one thing people don't think about, which was actually in the research that I read, what they focused on more than the food, which was a surprise, was watch what you consume in other ways, meaning television, the
mhm,
news, social media,
mhm,
and the list goes on and on. So watch what it is that you're consuming, because w- what this particular article was saying, the one I was reading, was stating that how those things impact your thought processes, right?
mhm,
And when the mind controls a lot, and it also impacts a lot because if the mind is saying you don't feel well, you don't feel well, right? Because it kind of controls the body from that standpoint too. So watch if you're taking in or you're consuming a lot of negative news. If that's stressing you out, social media, if you're getting into, some of these bullying fights or whatever else is going
mhm.
on that tends to happen on social media, those kinds of things. You also might want to avoid completely if possible, but if not, limit how much of that you take in. And I know you've had some experience with that.
Yeah, I've had some experience with that, but more than anything, I mean, that was bad enough, but more than anything, there are days when I'm like, not today," because and I take a break. Maybe not the whole day, but I take a break because there's so much negativity, and not by one subject, but just people just being negative, and, I try to put, a lot of positive out, not negative, not constant negative. It's positivity, positivity, positivity. I just try to do that because I want people to, feel positive and have positivity, not
Hmm.
a bunch of negativity or beating anybody down or anything like that. It's just how I am when it comes to online. It doesn't mean I don't have negative things going on in my life, that I don't have negative thoughts, that I'm not like anybody else. It's just that's not what I want to put out into the world. So
Hmm.
when I start surfing online and I just keep seeing not if it's just true negativity, then I'm just like, I it's too much, and I'll step away for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it
Yes.
can be. It can be overwhelming, and as we know with the media, especially, they just want to hammer and hammer and hammer and hammer.
Yeah,
When
lately.
yeah, when they get on whatever the subject is, and it can start to have such a negative impact on your mind. You don't even realize why you are kind of sensitive or kind of cranky or whatever it is, and because you're like, well, where's that coming from? And again, it could be simply because you're over consuming those negative aspects of
Mm,
whatever it is that they're putting out there. Uh, and not that you don't need to stay informed. That's obviously not what we're saying.
not
We're,
at all.
we're we're not saying that. But there needs to be a limit of, I think, how much of that you take in, because it does impact your mental health, your physical health, your stress levels. Sometimes even with some certain people, um, because a lot, especially social media, I mean, they start getting into people and how they look, and
Mm,
those kinds of things, and so now you're talking about self-esteem
yeah.
being drug into it, and many things like that. So just be conscious, be aware. If you can limit that, absolutely. If you can avoid it, even better. um, but that's really going to help you with being able to take that step back, uh, practice some self care, and evaluate your way through it. I think a lot better from that standpoint.
Think about people like me. I could do this all day long. I don't have a boss. Nobody's here. Nobody's here
Right?
to keep
Nobody's
me
stopping
from
you from picking up
I
the
can do
phone, right?
this all day.
Right?
And, it can be heavy. So you have to regulate yourself because you could be bored sitting around doing this all day, and then it's just too much
Too
sometimes.
much. Right?
Yeah, you gotta put
Absolutely.
it down.
So that's screen time, whether it's the TV screen, the phone screen, the computer
Yeah,
screen. I mean, all those things. Is there's a lot of good stuff out there, and but just like that old saying, there's too much of a good thing.
yeah.
There can be excess, right? So you need to monitor that,
Yeah,
especially from a
go ahead.
self care standpoint.
Yeah, you gotta go to the old comedies, 227 and what else did I watch? I watched something else until I was done. Um, Family Reunion. Oh, that was so funny. Oh, it was so good. I watched it
Yeah,
all.
you watched it all.
Yes, it was so
Yeah.
funny.
So like you said, laughter is definitely good for the soul. So that's one thing
Definitely.
to try to do when you're doing it. But again, the thing with self care is we are not sitting here saying that you need to change who you are or those kinds of things. That's not what it's about. What it is about, though, is taking that time to recharge and rejuvenate and remotivate
Right.
you as an individual, right? Because
Mhm,
there's so much drain that we have on us sometimes with the many things that are going on, it gets overlooked, you know.
mhm.
And that's why we wanted to talk about this, because as we said at the beginning of the episode, we kind of noticed that it was kind of coming up quite frequently,
Very well.
self care, and you need to do some self care. But then, what does that mean? So, and that's why
Right.
let's talk about this now. So then, the next piece I want to jump into is where it might be a little sensitive for some, but I think necessary that we do talk about that, and that is the ask for help, because maybe you get to try this, you get stuck, maybe you're so deep into whatever's really going on that you're blinded by it in some ways, those kinds of things. But something needs to change, something needs to be done. So when I say ask for help, that could be professional help, whether it means seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist, somebody like that, a counselor, those kinds of things. There is no shame
Mm.
in doing that. And I mean, I know you want to chime in on that because that's kind
Mhm.
of what your world is about.
Yeah, that's strength. That's showing strength when you reach out and get help when you have an issue. You go ahead and ask for it. You can also go to a pastor. You go to your religious source. They can help you. You can. There are sources online. I'm not sure of the fees, but I'm sure they have some. What are they called? Where you sliding fee scales where you
Hmm.
pay as you are paid depending on how much money you make. sure there's some of those out there. Depending on what kind of help you need, you can always go to SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. In there you can search for treatment for mental health or substance abuse, and there are some of them are a sliding fee scale. So you can definitely get help there, and there's always a National Suicide Prevention Hotline if you really feel like you might want to hurt yourself or someone else.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm. And
but
then yeah, this
mhm,
is important. These are tough topics to talk about, but
they are.
that's why we
That's
said we wanted to bring it up and share because
mhm,
there's when you get all that pressure on you,
yeah.
wherever it's coming from, and you can't figure out how to release it,
Mhm,
how to deal with it, it starts to become overwhelming.
mhm,
Um, it is okay to ask for help. I mean, and that's the paramount thing that we want to be able to share.
mhm. More than okay. It's strength. It's showing strength.
Strength. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And
And
then,
you talked about in one of our other videos you talked about, or maybe a live, you talked about people being at home during the pandemic with their families, remember?
yeah.
And, we love our families, but I'm sure if I was at home with my siblings, we were in the house with each other for too many hours, I'm sure we would get on each other's nerves after a while. So, I know that some families are, they struggle. Even though it's gotten better, we can go out and work and everything. I'm
Mhm,
sure you're spending more time than you want to, so you might even need to get some family, help, so
mhm.
reach out, get that help. Like I said,
I
it's strength.
could not agree more. Absolutely. So we wanted to bring that piece of it in because it's very important. We think that if you are feeling overwhelmed, don't see a way out, those kinds of things, absolutely reach out for help. And again, that help could be in many different places, as we talked about. The other side of the coin too is if you are observing a friend or a family member who seems just different from for whatever the reasons might be. You can't put your finger on what's going on with them. Uh, try to reach out. Try to at least be a welcoming ear for them to give them a place to maybe unload a little bit. And I think that's part of it too. So what's that? I am my brother's keeper kind of thing. So that's also very important. That if you get the sense that someone is just not in a good place. Try to be a good friend or a good family member or whatever it might be, and be there for them, because that also is going to make a difference too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what final thoughts do you have? I know we kicked this around and we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, but
Yeah. It's easy to be there for everybody else and not yourself. To be there for work, be there for family. Everybody needs somebody. They come and ask you to help them, and you're there for them. You're gonna be
mhm,
there for them, but you also gotta be there for yourself. So
you have to be there for
take
yourself. Yeah.
yes, take
Yeah.
the time to take a break away, to do things that are good for you, to give you that self-care. If it's out, getting a walk, if it's just, like I said, sitting around watching some good show that's making you laugh and feel good, do that. If that's all you can do to get your time in, do that.
Hmm.
Just things that are positive, that make you feel good. I like being around friends that make me laugh. Friends that we
Yeah.
can have conversations that I can't have conversations with anybody else about, and we just
Hmm.
laugh and have a good time. That's fun for me.
Hmm.
So, if you have friends that are like family, those are fun to be around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah. Could not agree more with you on that. I think that's very important. You said laughter, get being out with friends or family that just give you that lift that you need, and and that also are supportive of you. Makes a big difference because it kind of lightens the load a little bit.
mhm,
So definitely enjoying that. Um, what my piece of from a kind of a last thought standpoint is, um, you've heard the old saying, be on an airplane. For those of us who've flown, and most of us probably have been on a plane, and the flight attendant is going through the speech, and they say, "Should we have an emergency and the oxygen mask comes down, put yours on first before helping others." Right? That's exactly what we're talking about here with the importance of self-care. If there's an analogy to take away from this today, think of self-care from that standpoint.
Mhm,
Because until you can make sure that you're whole and you're solid, it's hard to do a lot more for other people. So that's the critical piece, and really what we're talking about here from a self care. And that's why when Mia said in her thought just a moment ago, it gets overlooked. You know, we're doing so much for others that we are forgetting to care for self. Uh,
mm,
Very important part of it though, and because the strength that you need to be able to continue to do that, to provide and care for others, comes from you being able to care for yourself, first and foremost. So that's the thing I want to leave you guys with out there is, from a self-care standpoint, is you've got to be able to put your oxygen mask on first. Then you can obviously help others because
mhm.
you've now fortified with oxygen, and now you can go share and care for others that are there with you. So
Right.
that's my final thought. Uh, and that's all we have for today. Unless Mina, you got anything else before we wrap up?
No, that's it.
That's it. Well,
Mhm.
we really hope you got some value out of today's session. Again, this is the VoV Unscripted. We just throw something on the table and we talk about it. We felt
Yeah,
that self care was a topic we really needed to talk about
that's right.
because it seems like it's getting overlooked. And we wanted to share just some steps on maybe how you can process your way through it simply and easily without, making it too much of a burden on yourself, but still getting the positive results that you need. So that's
Mm,
what we did today. If you found value, as I said, definitely like this. And then if you're on YouTube, subscribe. We're definitely looking to try to grow our YouTube community on that side. And if you do watch this on Facebook, absolutely be sure you like the video as well as like the VOB page on Facebook as well. We appreciate that, and we
appreciate it.
appreciate each of you and your support.
Yes,
Mina,
thank you for watching.
yeah. Yeah, it's very important to us. Uh, we will be uploading this on Tuesday, so if you see, you'll see it there on Facebook and as well as YouTube on Tuesday. So look for it there. And we have a new live coming up this coming weekend on Saturday. So look for us online live. That'll be at noon Pacific time, wherever you are in the country. So you can find us streaming live on the VOV Live. So we'll definitely be looking forward to that. And as I said, what we're doing is not about me and I. This is our way of giving back. This is what the VOB network is all about. Giving you ways to, as we said, better cultivate, enhance, and preserve the important relationships that you have in your life. And any way that we can do that, we want to. So if you have ideas for other things that you would like to hear us talk about and discuss, please share that in the comments. Comment and share. And if there's some things that maybe from a self-care standpoint that you've done, and I know some people do meditation, other things that they have, share some of those thoughts, or maybe it's a link to an article or those kinds of things. Please put that in the comments so that it can be shared through the community because that's going to be a good thing for us. Mina, what else before we wrap up?
We'll definitely add the comments because we do look at them and it would be nice to share with the community. Exactly. Yep.
Yep. Well, I think that's all we have for today. We want to say much aloha to everyone. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you for all of the support. And we'll see you on the VOB Live on Saturday. So please join us there. We look forward to it.
Have a great
Mina,
night. Day when
day,
you watch this.
night, day, either one. Well, it depends on your time zone. Either way, make it a great one. Take care until next time, guys.
Bye bye.